This is the infamous worst house on a really nice street. We're actually at a foreclosure auction that's going to happen in about 1 hour. And like I said, this is the worst house on a really great street in Agawam, Massachusetts. Make sure you stay tuned to see if we win it or if someone gets it. Yeah, I just want to go through some of the mechanics of a foreclosure auction because I know it can get pretty scary out there if you're going to a foreclosure auction and don't know what to expect. And I would say one of the best pieces of advice I would say is, especially the ones in Massachusetts and Connecticut, these are public auctions. You can go there and you don't need to have a deposit, which, there's typically a deposit. And we always use basically, like a bank check, either in our name or our company name, and then you have to sign it over at the auction. But you don't need to have a check there. You can freely come and watch and maybe ask some questions to the other bidders, or talk to the auctioneer. As always, guys, we are Two Guys Take on Real Estate. This is our Auction Masters channel where we talk only auctions, foreclosure auctions, and we bought hundreds of properties at foreclosure auction now, and we've made some clear mistakes. And some success is great, but we want to share a lot of our mistakes and kind of the pitfalls that we've run into, so you don't have to make the same ones. So if you're interested in anything like that, make sure you subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Appreciate it, and let's talk a little bit more about foreclosure auctions. Like I was saying, so you as an observer, if you're new to foreclosure auctions, whether you're looking to get an investment property or maybe even you're looking to get a home. I bought my house, Kevin bought his house at foreclosure auctions, and I'm so happy. I got a big discount. Mine was a big value add, so we did have to do quite a bit of renovation, but it turned out to be fantastic. I built a lot of equity in it. I then threw a HELOC on it. I used that to actually help, fund some of our deals, and it's been very, very successful that way. And I don't think I'd ever buy, for myself, personal house residence on the market. When I can get a deal? My wife might say differently. She might, Kristen, I'm sorry. But I personally definitely love the idea of buying a discount and fixing it up and adding value, whether it be into my investment property or my personal residence. To each his own. But you can go to foreclosure auctions and observe it, ask questions. I get asked questions all the time, even from current, people that have been to a few auctions. But you don't have to have the check. Now, to register and to have a chance of bidding, yes, you have to have a check. Or at one point, used to be able to carry cash. Can you imagine walking around with $25,000? Because we like to try to have multiple $5,000 checks. And in Connecticut, you could have $80,000, $100,000. I mean, we've had $200,000 deposits. A lot of the auction houses in our area, at least, have stopped allowing cash at all together. I mean, I don't blame them. They don't want to be carrying around that kind of cash. Yeah, so basically you bring a check if you want to actually register to bid. So that's kind of typically the first step once you actually get to the auction and the auctioneer is there. So now you're actually at the auction, you've registered to bid. That's typically what we do is once we go into the auctioneer, and typically they'll have you sign in, make sure they have your name, contact information, verify that you have the proper check, because that would suck. And it's happened before where people said they had the check and then they win the auction. And I've actually, because I was the second highest bidder right then, the other person did not have a proper check. And the auctioneer went, well, sorry, it went right to me. So make sure, you have a good bank check made out to whatever company, or if you're doing it for a personal name, you tend to have 3 days to assign it. So you could put it in your name, which sometimes we do that, specifically in Connecticut we do. But you could put it into your name and then have it assigned over to your company. We like to put all of our stuff in an LLC. Talk to a lawyer to see what's best for you. We'll also get checks in our company names, and then have what's power of attorney, showing that we actually have the right to sign for that company, and we do that as well. I like that more just because I don't like have a bunch of checks in my name or anyone I'm throwing at, going to the auction. So if we have a runner, for instance, sometimes Kevin or myself can't go to the auction, we'll utilize a runner, and we can then give them a check in our company name. They have POA, so they can hand that over, and then for that one time, they only have POA for that one auction. So that can be a fantastic way to kind of leverage that. But and now basically, you're able to walk around the property. Be careful, because technically it's trespassing. So, until someone yells at you, I like to walk around the property, try to assess as much of the property as I can to, once again, work up my scope of work. But after that, what's next is the auctioneer will typically read the memorandum of sale. So that's basically what you're going to sign, saying, you're buying it as is, where it is, that, if there's tenants in there or occupants, you're responsible to evict them, get them out. I mean, basically, you're not getting smoke search, you're not getting access, you're not getting a water meter reading or oil reading or all the normal things you do for a typical closing. You don't get any of that. So this is where, a lot of people, I've had people ask, well, what about what's taxes owed or something? All that's due diligence that you need to do ahead of time, because you're not going to get that information. Once in a blue moon, they'll have an MLC. I mean, yesterday we were at an auction. So we're in almost the end of February of 2026, and the auction was yesterday, and they had an MLC from August of 2025. I mean, a lot can happen by then. Of course, we had our VA call and get the actual updated amount. But if someone's basing on that, it could be quite a bit higher. So you're going to want to make sure you have all that done ahead of time, and they'll read the memorandum of sale, and this is what you're going to have to sign, and you're kind of held to. Now, typically, in Massachusetts, we're seeing closing, it says 30 days. That's what they tell you, but often it gets, hung up. There are more often than not, there's maybe a title issue, usually a small title issue. I mean, there haven't been as many title issues as there used to be, but there might be a small title issue. And then, oh my God. So where the heck was I? Oh my God. Oh, okay. In Massachusetts, it's typically 30 days, they say, but then there's often title issues. We haven't seen nearly as many title issues as we used to. Now I'm saying typically 30 to 60 days in Mass. The thing with Connecticut, since it's a judicial state of foreclosure, it could take a little bit longer. That's because it has to go, get on the docket. It's got to go in front of the judge again. They have to approve the auction price and stuff like that. Then if they question the auction price because it goes super low, it's, then you have to often argue why, it's justifiable that it went that low. So that's kind of where, oh my God, I'm drawing blanks here. You got to cut a lot of this out. I'm sorry, Jeff. Oh, yeah. Typically you'd be ready to close, once you're not going to get all this access. So if you're going to look to using a traditional lender, like a mortgage or whatever, like a credit union, something like that, the chances are it's unlikely that will be successful. I would highly recommend lining up some kind of financing with a hard money lender, private lender, or, some kind of access to capital or a partnership. Those are the best ways to make sure you can close in a timely fashion, because if not, in that memorandum of sale, they could cancel the deal, keep your deposit check, or try to charge you if you ask for X time. They might allow you to continue for a little bit, but they'll charge you for that. And so you just want to make sure that you're ready to close. They'll also often read the notice of sale. So that is basically talks about the metes and bounds. It might talk about who the mortgage company was and who was, the borrower, and it kind of gives just kind of the basic legal description of everything. Then they'll start the bidding. There's range bids. So sometimes they're instructed by the auction company, or by the lawyers for the bank, that they need to do a range bid, and they'll start, X. And they, once they reach past a certain number, that's when the bank will actually, let go of the property. Why do they do that? I don't know if they're hoping to get kind of build hype up in it. I don't really know, because honestly, I've not found that, range bids, other than getting investors annoyed or people, the bidders annoyed, I don't think it really adds any value to the bank. But some banks do it. I'd say it's more rare. I would say maybe 5% of the time it's a range bid. Most of the time, they'll have a specific number, like very specific number, like down to the penny sometimes, that the bank wants to bid. And that's basically, and that what they're typically bidding is their lien amount. So now what does that include? So if the bank has been paying the back taxes, if they've had to pay any water and sewer bills for the owner, they obviously don't want the city to step in and have, because their taxes or municipal liens actually supersede their liens. So they sometimes will, if they're tracking it well, they'll go and pay those and add that to the lien amount, so they can then add that in at the auction, because that's their cost that they've associated. There are often obviously legal fees that they process. Those can get pretty spicy. I've seen sometimes $15,000, $20,000. Depends on how long the auction has gone on to get to an auction. I mean, sometimes there's multiple bankruptcies that people have filed, or other stall tactics that just basically keeps adding to the toll unless they solve the problem and actually get a refinance or whatever, or dig themselves out of the hole. It just keeps adding it to the lien amount. Maybe they did some inspections, maybe they did a lock change or a winterization. All that gets added into the lien, and that's going to be their bid number. So that's why sometimes it's weird, little numbers. But that's where the auctioneer will say, all right, it's going to be 200,552 cents, whatever. I'm just whatever. But that is basically, and we'll see what this one starts at. But then, that's the bank's bid. So anything over that. Now, some people want to just do $1, which I get. You don't want to spend more than you have to, but a lot of auctioneers will have a minimum bid increment. So they might do 1,000 or whatever. So here's another thing to really be mindful of, and make sure usually it's posted on their website, or it's in some kind of, in the memorandum of sale or something, or in a notice, that the auctioneer might have what's called a buyer's premium. So it's like basically paying a commission from a realtor. So yesterday, for instance, that 8-family, that had a 5% buyer's commission. So basically the bid was $905,000. So it's roughly $950,000 was actually what you're going to pay, because you have to add in the 5%. But that's something you really also need to be mindful of. I would hate for you to bid and then all of a sudden you realize that your bid is plus. So if you bid 100,000, it's actually 105,000, or whatever the actual amount is. I've seen between 1 and 10%. So wide range. Some don't have it at all. Some auctioneers basically just get paid a flat fee. Some get a commission. So if you didn't hear anything, you should definitely ask the auctioneer so that you have that information. Yeah, then the bidding starts, and if people bid over that amount, there might be some back and forth with other bidders, and often they'll record who's bidding, so that if someone defaults, they can go back to the previous higher bidder. And that's kind of the process. And then at the end, you sign, whoever the winning bidder is, you hand over your check, and from there you'll then get a memorandum of sale. At that point, once again, I would get that to my insurance company, get that to my lawyer, because you have an insurable interest. So get insurance now, because if something happens, you're buying it as is, where is, and if it burns down, that's what you're buying in 30 days or 60 days. And you can have your lawyer start doing the title work to make sure it's clean title or marketable title. So that's kind of the process. Hope this was insightful. This is a great way to get properties at a discount. Now, some don't go. I mean, sometimes the bank takes them back, which happens a lot. But you'll find some deals. Yesterday, someone thought they got a deal. I mean, $905,000. But the bank's bid, by the way, yesterday for that 8-family was only $400,000. It was a little under $400,000. That was the bid. Like, that would have been a steal if there wasn't 20 bidders there. 900,000, I think, was way overpriced. My number was 750, but still, I mean, that was a deal. Someone could have gotten a deal if there wasn't a lot of bidders there. In your market, maybe there's not a lot of people going to the foreclosure auctions. I mean, we used to show up and there'd be 1 or 2 of us, and we were getting deals left and right. And I think that there's a good chance that's going to be, kind of come back. I'm definitely seeing less and less people show up to the auctions. Not that multifamily yesterday, obviously, but in general, yes. I mean, that one's been postponed and everyone's been hyped about it. But right now, I'm at this auction, and it's still got 45 minutes to the auction, and not a single person is here yet. So maybe no one shows. It's a great area. I'm hoping that'd be great.
162,500. 162,500. Anybody want to make an advance on that?
Now we got to work on our rehab estimate. I know it needs a roof. I can see some leaks through the window. This roof, we're going to look at $15,000. New windows, that's going to be about $12,000. I would want to fully reside the house, add another $15,000 for that. We're going to replace the 2 front doors, $2K there. The back deck is so rotted. I'm going to, put in about $8,000 for just to get that all done. Landscaping, 5 at that. Really, that's the exterior stuff. So we're at $57,000. We haven't even got inside yet. Updating the bathroom, $6K at that. The kitchen, we're going to probably put about $15,000. All new flooring, we're going to put about $8,000 there. I'm going to assume it needs a new heating system. I'm going to throw $15,000 at that one. Full repaint, we're going to throw $8,000 at that. Hardware and doors, another 6. Light fixtures, update the panel to arc fault breakers, outlets, switches, all that stuff. We're looking at probably 7. And then I'm going to put a miscellaneous 6. So we're at $128,000 rehab budget. 400 minus our 130, I'm just going to round up a little bit. This brings us down to 270. We're gonna have in and out closings of 6, $20,000 in commissions, 15 at that for holding costs. So we're at 229, and then I need to make some money. And on something like this, I'd probably want to at least make 60. So that basically brings us down to a maximum allowable bid of $169,000.
$266,000. Once, twice. So there was fair bidding and fair selling. Back to the mortgagee at $266,000.
If you have any questions about anything I talked about, happy to answer it. As best way possible. I mean, I don't know all the markets. Obviously, I don't know every state and how it's handled. I would definitely, find out about auctions. Like I said early on, go to an auction, and it'll be an invaluable experience. Heck, if you got time to kill, one Tuesday or whatever, it could be a good time, a good learning experience. So go check it out. And as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, appreciate it if you subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.